So I apologize for not including one of my many hats. We are here to talk about green screen. It's good to see y'all. I see a few friends I was actually Zooming with this morning, Annie and Schmitty, and then Annie DeChant. Good to see you here. I'm glad you're taking part in some of our activities. Last time I talked to Annie was 2 days before they shut everything down. We were brainstorming on new ways to find gigs, and 2 days later, those gigs all dried up, as did everything. So we're all brainstorming and learning how to do this thing. So let's talk about green screen. What is green screen? Green screen, the technical name for green screen is Chroma Key, and that's so that's what you're going to be looking for in your software, is the Chroma Key title. The process of green screen is removing a particular color within your background. We're using green. I'm trying to get used to my right and left because I'm mirrored here. So for this purpose, we're going to use green. So we're digitally removing the green from the image, and then we are going to replace it with an image of our choice. And I'm going to use a picture I took last weekend while taking a little nature hike, and there it is. It wasn't much of a nature hike. It was actually in my neighborhood, but with a zoom lens, it becomes a nature hike. So you can really use any kind of still image you want. You can also use video images. One great way to do that is to just create a loop. So if you turn on the news and you see, you know, the image of Washington, D.C. going on behind the presenter, is a good chance that they're just playing a loop and it's going round and round, and that helps to just keep things going. So how do we use Chroma Key? I'm going to close my studio door if that's okay with you. All right, just try to eliminate any kind of background noise here. I'm using a omnidirectional microphone, so I'm kind of closed in here, and I had that door open, but I want it to be quiet. Okay, so how does it work? Well, we set a particular color, and in this case, we're using green. Let me get back to that point where we are removing, where we can see the green. And, okay, so my background is green. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can see that my studio is, there we go. So that's my studio. And so really all it is a big green sheet. You can also do this using paint. My wife actually suggested we paint the wall. I thought the landlord might not be that happy with it, but you can use fabric, paint. They sell frames that have the green screen stretched out, which is a really important thing. So depending on how much you want to spend, I think I spent $15 for the green background that I have here, but that can continue to go up and up. So I'm going to zoom out and we'll try to get, okay, we're good here. Let me look at my, so green is very effective because, and this is important, you can use green, blue, you can use really any color you want. We like this green because it doesn't match any part of our skin tone. So you're not going to lose parts of your skin tone. With that in mind, you want to be careful of reflections and things like that. So I've got shades down over the windows to try to prevent any kind of kickback from the green behind me coming back and hitting my face and then creating holes in my face. With that in mind, you want to be careful of what you wear. So I have this lovely shirt from a local triathlon. It's green, and something terrible could happen if I, let's go and choose our background again. Let's go to San Francisco here. And, all right. So you can see how it's kind of fuzzing out there because I'm using a green shirt, or we got these nice little planters and you can't even see it, but it's a lovely planter. And because it's green, it's just disappeared on me. Let me get out of this, and you can actually see. So this is from the DuPage County. We're going to be doing farm there soon enough. So green is a good color. Blue works. The main thing is that you don't want to introduce any colors that when you remove them, you remove something important from your scene. So anything that happens that's green, then your scene is going to all of a sudden become that color, such as my little book. So we don't want to use that. With that, anything that goes against the green. So say I have a shadow, that is going to create problems. I don't know. Well, shadows will create problems, and shadows can be created, and you can kind of see some slight wrinkles and things like that in my background. So when I have shadows, those are going to create obstructions, which is going to alter that color green that I have. And when you really dial it in tight, you get very, very precise in some programs like OBS, or using Premiere or Filmora or some of these other video programs. So the green needs to be very consistent, very smooth. Any kind of bump or wrinkle can create an obstruction and create a shadow, and that will cause noise. Noise is best explained. Let me get back to. Now, if we go with the light background, you'll probably be able to see noise more clearly. So if I really create big shadows, I'm trying to see, that's not happening. So I've done a pretty good job here, actually, because I'm not getting the shadows I want.
We can sort of see it every now and then when you move, like with your arm, like underneath your arm.
Okay, you can see that,
like you
that
can sort of
noise
see
popping out.
that noise, yeah.
Yeah. So anywhere where you have noise, that's going to create problems, and then your background is going to break up. With this background, this came in Zoom, and you can see it's waves. So I'm guessing that they just created a little bit of a loop, and so that will continue to go on, and it makes it look like I'm sitting at the beach, kind of. Let me get back to my outline so I can see what I'm doing. So in order to do this well, you really want to stretch that background out really tight to remove any kind of wrinkles or bumps. You want to remove any kind of obstruction in the room that can cause a shadow that's going to create a change in the grade of green or blue or whatever color you choose to use. Hot pink might be something, though that could interfere with the color of your face. So now how do we get a room with no shadows? That's lighting. And so we really want to have good, consistent lighting. I am using a lighting kit, and I'll show you one of my lights. So this is can we see it? That's interesting. You can't see it. Very interesting. Let me, I can see it on my camera. I can't see it in the background. Let's go back to none. Okay, now you can see it. So this is just a flat panel LED light. If I turn it, you can see. Ooh. So I've got 3 of these going in the room right now. I have 2 at 45-degree angles directly in front of me. And I put them just above eye level. They're probably about 4 feet out each, relatively close. We want to have a lot of light and get a nice even light. We also want to have each light sort of knock out the shadows behind me. So having 2 light sources helps to do that, to decrease the shadows behind me. You can see shadows on my face. And then I have another light. It would be ideal if I had a pair of lights, because I really want to have the lighting behind me be very even, because I want the green to be very even. I want that to be perfect if I can get it. But I have another light sort of behind me, pointed up at an angle, And then to try to even that out, to reduce any kind of light hotspot. I don't know if you'll understand what a hotspot is in lighting, but when I took the light and I shined it directly at my face was being hit by a hotspot. So to reduce those hotspots, I'm diffusing the light. These are about $12 on Amazon, and all it is just sort of a scrim that the light can show through. But if you put something like that, like a 6 or 7 inches away from the light, it'll help to diffuse that light and spread it out a little more evenly across multiple surfaces. And you can use all kinds of different things. You can go cheap and use parchment paper or even paper towels, or you can spend a lot of money for more expensive lighting boxes that you would see on a soundstage. So we're going to try to even out that light as much as possible. The most important thing that we want to do is to reduce any kind of shadows behind us so that that screen is green and one tone. And the more controlled your environment, the better you're going to be. I would think that having all black walls would help to do that, because we want to reduce reflections, just like pulling the shades on my windows helps me to reduce those reflections, because any kind of reflection is going to kick back and you're going to see a little bit of green on my face. You could probably, even if you have me blown up well, you might even see a little bit in my beard or in my hair back here. Let's go back to a background so you can choose the virtual background. I like this one because it's pretty light. And yeah, you can see a sort of a little bit of noise running around. Ooh, that's even where the so Zoom does this. It's not the cleanest thing in the world. But that kind of noise from any kind of reflection is going to, or those reflections.
Uh-oh.
Is going to create noise in your look like it's not really that realistic. So the better you can control your environment, just like in a recording studio with diffusers and things like that, light diffusers rather than sound diffusers. Andy, did you have something to say? I thought I heard your voice.
You froze for a second. I don't know if you froze for anybody else, but
Okay.
I just want all I was going to say is it actually looks like the wind is blowing your hair.
Oh, that's neat.
And I thought maybe that was an effect you were purposefully doing because of the wind in the background.
I have a ceiling fan going because I have the windows shut because there were neighbors yelling at their dogs.
Sorry, carry on.
It's very Fabio, Charlie. Very Fabio.
It's very Fabio.
Good look. Yeah.
All right, where are we? So anything like that will create noise. So you really want to reduce that as much as possible. I would think if I was perfectly shaven and I cleaned up all of that, I'd have fewer problems, although a bald head could probably catch that green light a little bit. And your background may appear in your forehead. I was fooling around with a really bad attempt at green screen video yesterday, and half my face was obliterated. So you want to be careful with that. So the lighting is very important. You also want to be a distance from your background. So I'm not 6 feet, which is, I think, ideal. Although if my wall was another human being right now who did not live with me, I would still move away a little bit further. Unfortunately, I don't have that opportunity in the space that I'm in. But you want to be a good distance from that wall. You also want a screen that's going to be big enough so that when you're 6 feet away from that screen, from that background, and you zoom in, you're going to be able to crop out the background properly and not have your sides showing. So as big a screen as possible is important. I think I left some kind of important stuff out here. I skipped over some of my notes. Where is green screen used? That was a note that's important, and I'm jumping backwards. Green screen is we probably recognize it most from watching the weather. So the weather person gets up in front of us and they have the weather map behind them, and they've got a small monitor off to the side, and so they're able to figure out, well, there's Ohio, there's Michigan, there's Tennessee. But what's going on behind them is what you are not seeing behind me because I'm looking at waves. So that's what's happening behind your weather person. In Cleveland, we would say, we'll say Al Roker, because I think that's universal. We all know who Al Roker is. You could also use green screen's also been used in films like major films like Star Wars. So when you see somebody walking across the Death Star or something like that, or some giant spaceship, and it's this giant elaborate set, they didn't actually create that set. They created a CGI version of that set, and then the actors worked in a green screen environment, allowing the video people then to install that CGI behind them pretty flawlessly. And you know, the people at Star Wars or Lucasfilm or Disney are very talented and have access to all the technology they want and the sound stages that will allow them to make it look extremely realistic. And then more commonly lately, YouTubers are using green screen quite a bit because a lot of people producing content for YouTube are working in, you know, small offices, practically closets. So in order to create the illusion that we are working in a different environment or a different studio, we throw a little green screen behind us, and then we can add any kind of background that we want. To make that background really look realistic, I encourage you, and this is true of sound, use the highest resolution available to you. So use a good camera to grab those images, or find high resolution images. Figure out what the crop of your video is going to be. So if I'm using 16 by 9, my image is going to have to be 16 by 9 as a, you know, that's the space, 16 by, go with the 1080p as far as a basic resolution at start. But if you can get into 6,000, you know, just really, really high resolution. I'm getting bad internet, aren't I? Did I freeze?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
afraid
back.
so.
I'm back.
You're back. You're back.
Okay. Unfortunately, our Ethernet is not anywhere near where I have this all set up. And we hiked up we paid Spectrum a lot more money this month. And I don't think we're getting what we paid for. Anyway, so where are we at? So green screen gives us an opportunity to create a good background. The keys are a unique color background and lighting. Front lighting so that your subject is getting lit properly with as few shadows on the background as possible, and then backlighting so that the lighting so you wipe away all those shadows and maintaining that consistent, unique background. And this allows us to provide any background that we want to the video that we're creating. We are using this in Zoom right now, and they have a very simple version that seems to actually work kind of well, although a lot of noise gets created with just any background. I was fooling around with it in other parts of the house, and Zoom seemed to kind of figure out what it wanted to use and what it didn't want to use. But like Zoom audio, it could get a little sketchy from time to time. Let's get into, so more and more people are, let me just make sure I didn't skip over anything. So yeah, you want to use this in a large room with a few reflections from windows and white walls and so on and so forth. Common uses, talked about that. Let's jump into OBS. And this is probably going to knock me out of here. You won't see me because I will probably go to my OBS window. But I'm going to open that up. And I need to share this window with you. And share screen. There it is. Okay, are you seeing my shared screen? No, why not?
Yes, we are. We can see it.
You're seeing my OBS background?
Yep, we are.
Okay.
At least I am.
And now I can see some of your faces. Hello, David. Hello, Claudia. Hello, Maureen. So many friends. I see Sue. I wasn't really looking at y'all before. And I need to somehow shrink my little Zoom window. How do I get out of here? There it is. Okay. So if you're using OBS, you're looking at, this is my neighborhood again. This is an apartment building in my neighborhood. But we are going to go to our video capture device in OBS. So you go down to sources. Can you all see my arrow? Well, and I'm going to depend on Annie to just say yay, nay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're good.
Okay, so under sources here in OBS, we've added a video capture device. And for me, that is a Canon camera that's running into a USB port. So under that, if you right click on that video capture device, you have the ability then to go to filters. And when we click on filters, we have options. So one of those options is we go down here and we want to add in the effect filters. You hit plus and you roll up here and you hit Chroma Key, and there it is. And I don't really need to add that because I've already got it going. So once, but actually let me remove that, and then I'm going to do this properly so that I can show you. So Chroma Key, specify, yes. Now, once we're in there, I can get in here and control a little bit of it. So I can control the contrast of my, you can play around with this, and you can, I don't see it changing dramatically as I would like it to. But you can fool around with different parts of this that will help you to zero in on getting exactly what you want. Once you get that straight, and you've got this window the way you want it, then you can go ahead and hit your transition, and it will switch to, here, let me show okay, so this is what I used last night after my show. So I just transition, and now this is your live screen. This is your setup screen. And if I want to go back to my setup screen, we just transition back to it. So that is OBS, and that is getting into green screen in OBS. And I'm going to stop sharing. Boom. Now we're back to green. Conclusion. So green screen, I think we're pretty much at my conclusion. Green screen is really a clever way to transform your studio, your sound stage, whether it's your living room or the small studio or whatever, into a magical place where you can have some pretty cool things happening behind you other than a CD rack or anything else that you're using. Let's go into outer space. Woo! I was listening to Billy Preston, Outer Space, the other day. Funky stuff. So here we are in outer space, and if you look up here, you can see a little bit of that green is catching my hair. Ooh, it's like slime. So the more controlled your environment, the more controlled your hair and everything like that, the better you're going to do. It's really a neat thing. I do also encourage people, don't overuse it. If you can avoid using it, a natural background is still going to probably be much more controllable because your natural background is real, and you're not going to get any kind of weird artifacts or noise in your background. So the results can vary depending on how well you hone this in, but play with it and play with it and play with it until you get it right if you're really interested in making green screen work for you, because it's cool. It allows you to do some pretty neat things. I don't think I have anything else in here, so I'm ready to go ahead with questions. And I think Annie is going to feed those to me.
Yes, she is.
Yes, she is.
Well, unless I, but I would also encourage anyone who's got a question that they want to speak or contribute that go ahead and raise your hand. I'll see your blue hand show up in there, but you're also welcome to go ahead and chat them to me. Annie has a question of her own that hasn't,
Okay.
I think somebody did ask this in a preliminary thing, but when you are looking for images, I think you mentioned about high resolution, but just for the folks that might not be clear on what you're talking about in terms of pixels, or because like
Hmm.
every screen is different, and how you make something look the right size. And if this is out of your area of expertise, I'm sorry, but like how you make something the right size for the green screen.
Okay, let me jump into, so Zoom apparently does it automatically. So I could, let me go.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I'm going to just add any random image here of any random size. Pardon my politics here, but we're
Uh-oh.
about to, okay. This is the coffee shop where I do my open mic on Coventry Road.
Cool.
And they, I don't know if you can really see what, they have embraced the moment. Um,
So it just resized it for you? Like
so
this was
yeah,
a really big picture? Okay.
yeah. So it just resized it for me. Now, if we get into, where's my share screen? And let's go back to OBS. So within OBS on your setup screen, where's the image I'm using? Let me just add a whole new image here. No, sorry about this. This stuff is supposed to all just flow naturally, and then my brain starts working. And once my brain starts working, all chaos ensues.
I'll answer this question. Somebody's asking the question, what is OBS? We had a tutorial about that last week that was pretty intensive, and I think we're going to have a follow-up tutorial as well. But OBS is Open Broadcast Software, and it is what you're looking at right here. But Charlie, maybe you can answer this. I believe if you want to use a green screen in something like YouTube or Facebook, you kind of can, you have to use some form of open broadcast, some kind of software behind the scenes. Like there's no way to actually just do it directly through those two platforms. Is that correct?
Wait, restate that question.
I know you're trying to look, and I'm distracting you.
Oh, that's right.
My question was that I think that somebody was asking what the benefit of OBS is, and I think that in order to use a green screen in something like Facebook or YouTube, you really need OBS to
Yes.
apply that green screen, right? You can't do it
Yeah.
directly onto Facebook. There is no Facebook functionality that allows green screen that I'm aware of. That doesn't mean that somebody prove me wrong.
I have not found it within Facebook. But yeah, OBS is open broadcast software,
Hmm.
and it definitely allows you to do overlays. So if I wanted to put text on top of what I'm doing, or if I wanted to put green screen behind me, or all kinds of different, OBS just offers you a lot of options to try to produce a professional looking broadcast.
But I think you're answering my question right here. Like that OBS obviously didn't resize that,
No,
and you're
so
just getting a zoomed in
here I'm
corner of
just
the
going to
image.
grab the image, and then I can drag that back up, and now we're getting a little closer to the entire image. And I'm
So
about
you have to
to,
resize it.
I think Sue Jeffers, and actually Annie might recognize this too, but Annie DeChant would probably recognize this because you have all gone down Cedar Hill. So this is running down Cedar Hill, so I can resize this to any place I want. And then I just hit my transition, and now it's in my main screen.
Gotcha.
So yeah, within that, you're able to
Cool.
resize within OBS. Zoom, it's not necessary. And then with the other video software like DaVinci or Filmora or Premiere, you look for that chroma key is the main word that you're looking for when you get in there. Okay.
So
More
what we
questions?
don't want, what you don't want is to have an image that's super low res that you have to stretch, because then it'll be very blurry. So it's more important to have something that's big, super high resolution, and then you can reduce it to fit. So
Yeah, like
right, yeah,
a 200 pixel image stretched out. It's going to be what it is, and
yeah,
it's not going to be it's not going to be great. So you want to get up into the thousands. I would recommend, just like audio recording.
yeah.
We use 24-bit or 32-bit or 96K or whatever we can to increase the resolution, so by the time somebody's listening to it on Spotify, it actually sounds good.
Yeah, quality.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. And thank you, Lauren, for your OBS question. For those of us who don't remember acronyms, Claudia is asking, what kind of processing speed do I need to use Chroma Key?
What kind of processing speed? Well, you need to be able to have enough processing speed to allow your cameras to work. I'm using a Intel Core 7 with a, I think it's like 2 point something or other gigahertz processor. It's fast. Video uses a lot of processing. I don't think Chroma Key really necessarily weighs on that heavily. I think it does it somewhat seamlessly. But I think anything in video, you want to have more is better. That's probably the simplest answer. You can use it with a weaker processor, but your stream is probably not going to be very good either with a weak processor. You're going to have trouble getting those, because you're like right now, I think, well, within OBS, I'd be sending 60 frames per second so 60 frames per second running through your processors. If you're using an old, Pentium 3 processor, it's not going to happen. It's just, so newer, faster, better is kind of the rule. I don't know specifics of what the lightest processor you can be. One thing I think with all video, you want to try to have quad core rather than dual, or
What I was
single processor.
What made me ask this is when I was using Zoom, they have some backgrounds in Zoom, and it was saying that I had to have I forget what it was. I have a Mac, and I'm running High Sierra, but it was not quite enough for the backgrounds, and I just wondered if that meant I probably also wouldn't have enough for green. But you're a Windows guy, so maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, I'm not well versed in Mac. The last time I used Mac was when I was working in a recording studio, and that was 2005. So things have changed. I use an iPad, but how old is your computer, Claudia?
About 8 years.
8 years. I would think it would work. I think it would be okay, but again, faster, newer better is better.
I've got one other question, as long as I've got you here. I've got a song called Let the Storm Roll In, and I've got this footage of clouds and wind and trees blowing and everything. And I would like to create a video where I have that in the background. Can I do that with OBS?
Yes.
Make a video?
You can lay video down instead of a still image. And I think optimally it would work best if it's looped, because then you're demanding less from your processor. So if you can just present a loop of a storm blowing in, but if you wanted to sequence, if you had a 40-minute sequence of events, you probably just need a stronger computer that's going to handle that.
It's going to be a 3-4 minute song, but
yeah, I would put it on like a 5 or 6 second loop, honestly.
okay.
And OBS will allow you to loop those things.
And you can record, I haven't used OBS yet. I've got it installed, but I haven't tried it yet. Can you use it the same way that you would use Zoom, where you can actually film it, where you can record it?
Yeah, OBS has a recording. a recording option. There's more to syncing up audio and video when you're recording in OBS, but yes, OBS definitely. And I've recorded some bits of my YouTube show using OBS, mostly out of fooling around, but I just wanted to experience it and see if it would work. And it records really well, and it records at 60 frames per second, which is pretty smooth.
Sounds like we should do another OBS demo. That's great. Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you.
I'm going to chime in just about the processor speed. Sometimes even it just make sure everything is shut down on your computer and you start from a fresh reboot to make the most out of it, because there are things that can drag it down. And older computers may start out with good processor speeds, but they get old and tired like us humans. So keeping that in mind. There are a couple more questions in the chat, but I also see Annie Deschamps. So we're going to unmute you, Annie.
Hey, hi, Charlie.
Hey, Annie. Good to see you or hear you.
It's so good to see you. Thank you. It's good to see you. Hey, I was just wondering, what kind of flat screen light is that you're using?
Flat screen light?
Yeah, the LED light that you
using,
showed.
Viltrex. There's a Viltrex lighting kit. It came with this really neat little case here. Nice. I think it was like about $200, maybe a slightly more. Another company that makes something like that is called Newer, and they sell 3 light sets. You can buy them independently, or but those LED panels are great. This Viltrex kit, it's got a remote control. Where's my remote control?
Okay.
Which for me is really useful, because not being extremely mobile, getting up and adjusting lights and stuff like that's a real pain.
Yeah.
And frankly, it can be dangerous when you look at my setup, and I've got things, tripods of all sorts hanging over my head in every direction. If I stand up, I start grabbing onto things, and this could be a catastrophe. So this comes with a remote. It allows you to dim between different colors. Wow. So there's a daylight color, which is more white, and then there's this tungsten color, which is a much warmer glow, which is similar to what you'd see in your living room in the evening. And you can fade between those and find variables, shades of gradient shades in between all those two things. You can dim the lights between very, very bright and somewhat dimmer, but it's still pretty bright light. And these, for a $200 lighting kit, I'm very happy it came with stands.
Oh, good. That was my next question.
Yeah, it came with stands and the lights, and it packs away really easily in that little bag. My wife also uses it for teaching.
Great.
This is the second go around today. She was doing story time with the kids this morning, so we had her set up with the lights.
Great. That's perfect.
We're getting our money's worth for sure.
Good. Good.
The lighting is great, I think. Thanks, Annie. Okay, so we're gonna just go back to the chat in here, and there's a couple of things that I want to wait. David and Dennis, we're gonna wait for you to the end. Mark Smith was asking about memory, so I'm assuming he means RAM, like the amount of is there a?
I think with any video, I would start at 8 gig. I think you can get away with it at 4. I am using 12 right now. 16 is ideal. I don't think after 16 you're getting much more. But if you can put 64 gigs of RAM in your computer, cool. If it goes to 11, do it.
Do it. Nice. Yeah, that's a great question. Let's see. Okay, well, I think that was the end of the questions directly. So if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and raise your hand. But what we're going to do is start with Dennis, who has said, is it possible when you're done with your green screens to scan your studio with your camera showing what you use? So I'm going to let you do that. And then David, you want to demo something you said? Okay, and yours will take about just a couple of minutes.
Okay, David Drake.
Yeah,
David Drake's going to demo now, or?
No, I want you to do, and this is Dennis's
Scan.
question.
Okay,
Yeah, so scan around your studio. Let's see what you got there.
Okay, so over here you see my diffuser and my light.
Wait, we want Dennis, I think you want to remove the green screen. Is that
Turn
right?
off the green screen.
Yeah, turn off the green screen. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, let's turn off. Choose virtual background. What happened to my none option? Oh, I see. There's a. I had loaded up too many images. Okay. So here we have, there's my studio back here, couch, a little bit.
Nice t-shirt.
So great thing about this is you can really take a messy studio and turn it into a nice, clean little spot. So you can see my diffuser, and I think directly behind that, everything's backwards, so I'm looking at it like that. Directly behind that is the, where is the light?
We can see it.
You can see it? Okay.
You mean the big circle thing there? That's
No, that is the diffuser.
Oh, that's the diffuser. I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
actual light.
I think you can.
Oh, there it is.
This is the problem with my mobility issues and why I'm using a lavalier. So here's my light. So I just got that angled at the entire wall here. Okay, here I've just taken I've dropped all the shades and tried to shut out any kind of natural light in the room, so that I can control the light a little bit, because natural light can vary quite a bit based on clouds, based on tree canopy, based on time of day. Here's something for Annie to chant. Do you see Martin up there? Yeah, it's our old friend Martin. He ran the Barking Spider Tavern. Then let's come around here. Now I should be looking at the screen here. So this is one of the lights that's facing me. I didn't even think to look at it this way. Then there's my beautiful scalp. My grandfather's violin. He would not be happy if I referred to it as a fiddle. Another light. So this is basically what I've got going here. It's a very simple setup. There's nothing complex going on around me. It's really based around the three lights, the one behind me and the two in front of me, and then having a nice camera in front of me running into the laptop. Oh, I can show you my little
I've
setup.
Unmuted Dennis in case he has any follow-up questions.
So here I've got, make sure there's nothing. There's my light remote, sound card, iPad, which I was using for my note keeping, for the outline and stuff. There you are, and again and again and again and again.
Are you using a USB camera?
I am using, yes, kinda. Canon.
Oh, DSLR.
It's a mirrorless Canon camera. It's a EOS M50, which is a reasonably affordable mirrorless Canon camera. And right when the shutdowns began across the country, Canon released some new software that enabled you to run USB with a clean input into your computer, whereas before it wasn't a clean input. You would see, all the things that you would see on your screen on your camera, like ISO and your f4.5 and your frame rate and blah 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 blah, shutter speed. But this enables the camera to run clean into the laptop without any of that information showing up, and it's a nice camera.
Then are you using an XLR mic into a USB interface of some sort?
Kinda. I'm using a lavalier, so I've got that right here, and I'm running that into a PreSonus Audio Box USB 96, which, because the lavalier I have is your basic $20 lavalier, I'm running it through a converter that goes into a XLR, because I use XLR.
All right, thanks.
But I can also plug that little 1/8" plug in directly into the camera if I'm just shooting on the go or whatever.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's see, we've got about 5 minutes or so left. Mark, I think we answered the question about black as a background option, but I don't know if Charlie want to throw
I could go
another.
into it. Black, meaning if you just put a straight black background behind you within the green screen, or using that as the screen. I think that's
I think he means using it as instead of green.
instead of green.
Yeah.
The problems with using black, your pupils are black. You probably, any kind of shadow is black. So you're going to get a lot of noise with a black background, because I don't know, there's a lot of black that's just naturally showing up. So you want something that's really going to stand out. And, when I tried to wear a green shirt, my whole torso disappeared. So I don't think black is a great idea. We were watching Groundhog Day last week, and they were using a blue background behind Bill Murray when he was doing the weather report. And Andy McDowell, in the next scene, is wearing a blue dress, and she goes and stands directly in front of the camera, and she's playing around with it. And it's a cute little scene. But the point is that her dress was not made for that particular screen.
Nice.
So yeah, I would not use black. I would use something that you're probably not going to wear.
Yeah, I liked your explanation about green, and I think it makes sense what you've said is probably the least disruptive color,
Mm-hmm.
least likely. Okay, so I think we are ready to unmute you. David, I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight you
Okay.
so we can see what you're gonna demo for us.
Okay. What I wanted to share was how to do it wrong. No,
Nice.
really, because I've been playing with this, and you're all on Zoom right now. If you go on your taskbar to the lower left hand, you will see the microphone, and then you'll see stop video,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an up arrow. If
Mm-hmm.
you click on the stop video up arrow, choose virtual background.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn that on and show you how to do it wrong.
Oh.
Hey, there we go.
Right? Now, that's wearing a black and white shirt, and everything around me, like my doorway has just turned to outer space, but I'm getting this side is all static. Now, if you used a completely black background,
That's
There we go.
awesome. Well, I don't know. Somebody might want that effect.
and if you wanted that effect, there you go. But this is what happens. And I have a 5-year-old computer, and it is telling me that it doesn't have the power to do this.
Oh, interesting.
So this is using the quote unquote green screen background inherent to Zoom, and not having a computer that's powerful enough, wearing a shirt that's the same color as my background,
Mm-hmm.
and it's black. And so you get, for instance, on my arms here and stuff, it gets pretty weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A
I'm
little
sorry.
distracting.
I want to look at it just for a few minutes because I like the way that the universe shows up in your shirt and
Yeah, isn't that's really
your chest.
fascinating?
It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
So. Thank you, David. That was very fun. All right, my friend Charlie, you have any last words of wisdom to share with us in our last few minutes? This has been great.
Not a lot of wisdom. Just, I think more than anything, just have fun with it and experiment. You can find these screens relatively inexpensively, or you can spend a lot of money. Again, no wrinkles, get it as tight as possible. And to do that, you can find a 6 by 9 foot type of thing like this, where the fabric is really stretched out, really tight. And you're not going to get any. That's my diffuser. It's not a green screen, but imagine 6 by 9 feet of this behind you, and it should cover your needs. Go bigger if you're using a guitar, because you are going to be a little bit wider. and you want that screen behind you a little bit. And you don't have to spend a ton of money, but again, bigger, faster, better. Spend more
Yeah.
money, you're probably going to get better results.
But what I love about your green screen, if you zoomed out, I saw binder clips holding up the corners. I mean, seriously, and it's working great. So there are ways to do it effectively on the cheap, it seems.
Hmm.
So I think that's a really great example, you know.
Yeah. And if
So,
you own your home and you're prepared, you can go ahead and paint your wall, which I
oh,
think would
David,
probably be the best.
go ahead, David. You're still unmuted.
Okay. If you want to go cheap, I don't know if you can see this. This
Oh,
is simply a digital LED clamp light. It's got a clamp on the end, gooseneck. Whoops, there we go. Okay, it's an LED light, clamps on anything on this end. This is already frosted, costs $6 at Target.
oh, wow. Nice.
And for instance, for like right now, I have two of them. I could clip this on either corner of my monitor, focus them, and if I ran it through a little dining room dimmer, I should be able, I haven't tried it yet, but I should be able to control the intensity.
Huh.
And these are like $6 at Target.
You know, I'm noticing
Now
something
you
that
tell me.
clamp lights from hardware stores work well too. Like I said, paper towels. I'm noticing something from David, that's something that that you need to be aware of, and that if we could highlight David again.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you brought that up.
His computer screen was literally showing in
in my
Yep.
glasses.
in his glasses.
Right.
There you go.
Glasses can be a problem. You know, any kind of reflection is something that is something you know, just like sound. You want to reduce those reflections unless you really want to look like David's shirt. You know, it's the universe showing through David's beard and eyeballs. Which
Nice.
That's
is
a concept.
cool.
Nice.
If that's what you want.
All right. Well, Charlie, I'm going to spotlight you again for a quick second while I brag on you and also say a couple things. So I actually think, wouldn't it be fun to have a tech talk on, just like have a basically almost like a peer session of people sharing things that they got on the cheap, like, you know, cheap fixes for things that are normally really expensive. That could be fun.
Fat Albert Gang
Yeah.
production style.
How to save money. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This has been really, really awesome. And thank you, everybody. We're going to put us quickly into gallery view. If you all know how to do that, I'm going to just in your upper right corner, click on gallery view so we can, and if you want to unmute your video, great. Just wave your hands because we're recording this, and this way everybody can say hi and see you. Hi, friends. Yay. This was a really lovely, friendly group. Thank you for being here. And everybody give Charlie jazz hands. Thanks for his great
Thank you.
presentation today. We're going to keep going with these, but we are going to take next week off, kind of as a delayed 4th of July celebration, and also for this team to kind of regroup. But please watch your inboxes because we're going to send out a little survey to get your input on what other stuff you'd like to see from us. Finally, I can also just remind you all to go to farmvirtualconnections.org. There you will see a place to give your feedback, although we'll send you an email as well about that, to give, to offer suggestions for workshops you want to see or present, and a way to potentially, if you have a few extra dollars, to help us out to keep some of these programs going. There's lots of ways to do it really inexpensively, $5 a month if you want to just sign up for that. We were thinking if 100 people dropped $5 a month into an auto bank account for us, that would be really cool. So no pressure. We want to continue to offer these for free. So there's never going to be any charge. We just wanted to offer you all the opportunity to help because so many people have asked. So we love you. Thank you again, Charlie. Thank you all for coming. This end part is always the hardest for me as we click and abruptly say goodbye. So one last big wave into the camera, everybody. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Bye.